and this is the first in a weekly series of live events that I'm going to hold every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Sydney time. Now, the thing that I really love about doing live events is this. Anything that I do today that is a mistake or that I can improve on, I get an opportunity to come back next week and do it again a whole heap better. So, yeah, bear with me. I'm using Restream for the first time, really live, and my technical skills are improving. I'm developing a strong self leadership around my technical skills. So, if there are any things that I need to improve, please make sure that you let me know, and I can come back and improve those again next week. We're going to learn a bit more about leadershipisation and how that came about shortly. But what I'd like to do to start with is to introduce me. I moved through my career. I moved into my career and through my career thinking that leaders are great people. They're great communicators. They must be, because otherwise they wouldn't have that job. They wouldn't be called a leader. And I learnt that this isn't actually so. What I learned was that there were lots of leaders out there who were weak and easily influenced by others because they wanted to be seen to be doing the right thing. I learned there were just as many out there that were demanding and really overpowering, almost bullying in their approach. I learned that there were leaders and communicators who were scared to ask for help. They just weren't prepared to ask for help. They weren't prepared to even be vulnerable. There were people in leadership roles who I came across who were under-equipped, totally unprepared and unqualified. Often they didn't understand the very nature of what it was that they were there to be leading. I learned along the way that many leaders had difficulty managing themselves. And that led to the conclusion that if they were struggling to manage themselves, how could they possibly manage others? I came across people, and I still have clients now who are suffering totally from imposter syndrome. How did they even get this job? I've seen leaders, many of you may have seen the same ones, who are totally indecisive. They just can't make a decision. And as a result, they're the bottleneck and no one else can do very much because they're spending all their time waiting for that decision to be made. And I came across lots and lots of leaders who were pedaling really fast, who were relying on the rest of their team to hold up their reputation, who were relying on the rest of the team for great ideas, for productivity, for good work, and for engagement with the other teams in the organisation. I can remember, and this was the defining moment for me, I can remember sitting in a high-level executive meeting. It was about, I don't know, 15, 18 of us around a table, the most senior people in the organisation. And we were talking about some budget cuts that were going to be required. And I remember raising my hand and saying, what about the impact this is going to have on our people? No one else spoke. For some time, I'd been one of the few people that was asking that question, week in, week out, meeting in, meeting out. The highest person in the organisation rolled his eyes every time I asked that question. What about the impact that this is going to have on our people? And this last time, it really confirmed for me this growing feeling that I had inside that there was much more to learn about leadership. There must be many more better examples. There must be people who are managing their leadership and their communication skills, obviously continuing to grow and learn, but they must be managing it better in a much more professional, in a much more open and communicative way than many of the leaders that I'd come across. So that really firmed up my belief that leadership and communication, including self leadership, underpins every single thing that we do. Every single thing that we do. And so that's kind of what brought me to this point. I started out as a secondary school teacher. I worked a lot with unemployed youth on a number of nationally recognised programs. I shifted into vocational education and training. For those of you that are in Australia, that was in the TAFE sector. I was a trainer there, I was an education manager, and I was a faculty director. At the same time as I held these roles, I owned and operated several small businesses for myself. And I was responsible for staff training. So I was kind of doing these things and having a couple of kids and looking to maintain a marriage that ultimately fell apart. But I then moved into that corporate sector. 10 plus years, I've owned my own business now. I've been a coach, an executive coach with a really large focus on leadership and communication. And I've consulted with a number of national organizations around business development opportunities, developing programs or responses to funding opportunities so that they can continue to grow their own businesses and continue to grow and consolidate what they're offering. Now, I've coached for more than 5,000 hours. I stopped counting rather after that time. I'm an associate certified coach with the International Coaching Federation. I'm a master NLP coach, and I can also do timeline therapy. I'm about to be certified as a happiness coach. And all the time, all through this, what I've done is I've continued to sharpen my saw, to challenge and to lead myself because I believe that there is always more that I can learn and apply around leadership and communication. What I love about this work that I do and the time that I get to spend with my clients and doing things like this is that there's so much that I learn from other people, from sharing other people's perspective, from listening to their ideas, and from just being part of a community and building a community that really wants to look at what is leadership, what is communication, and how can we do it in a way that impacts positively on our world, on ourselves, on our families, on our communities, and on the organizations or the businesses that we work in. And all of this has led me to developing leadershipisation, all things leadership. Now, you might wonder, where did leadershipisation come from? I made it up. It's a word that I made up. And because I made it up, what it means is that I can give it a definition. And for me, it's all things leadership. It means that we can talk about all of those different interpretations of leadership, what it means, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like if we are the person who's being the leader. Leadershipization and these conversations are not about providing all of the answers, because every single answer, in my mind, opens up a whole range of other questions. I'm wanting to create some reflection, some self reflection in you, perhaps some examination of, hmm, could I have done that differently? Could I have done that in a way that impacted more positively on my team, on myself, on my family, on my community, whoever it's impacted on? And so leadershipization and these conversations for me is by leaders, with leaders, and for leaders. We'll have guests come on and share their leadership journeys. We'll have some topical conversation looking at what's going on in the business world around us and in the world around us, and how that might impact the way that we implement into our own lives, our own families, communities, and organizations. It will bring new perspectives. Sometimes it may be controversial, and sometimes it may sound like, oh, everybody's already saying that, Beth. We don't need to hear it from you as well. But it also may answer questions that you have, because you'll have the opportunity to send me those questions and ask them so that I can answer them or give you my perspective. It's all about creating a space to examine what leadership can and does look like, sound like, and feel like. I believe that leadership starts with us. So when I talk about leadership and all things leadership, much of it is applicable to us and our own self-leadership. And then once we've really begun that journey and we're confidently leading ourselves, we're in a better position then to lead others, to lead a team of people perhaps, to help them to be the best versions of themselves, to achieve the common goal, to travel a journey where it's a growth journey for them, and to create a great team environment. And from there, you may move into a role where you are leading leaders. So you're moving up a level in an organization or a business. You're leading leaders. Then, if you aspire to it, you may be moving into leading the organization. It might be your organization, or business, or it may be someone else's. It could be a small not for profit, it may be a large not for profit, it could be a multinational organization. Leaders are everywhere. You may also fall into the role of leading the process, and that requires a different set of skills. Maybe you communicate externally, verbally less often, but you're certainly managing the processes that are gathering the data and the information that is required for you to be able to lead that process and contribute to the success of the organization. I would love it if you would join me here live every Tuesday over the next 3 months or so at 11 p.m. Sydney time. Now, next week and the next couple of weeks, we're moving into daylight saving. So Queensland, it'll be 10 a.m., 9:30 in the Northern Territory, 1 p.m. in New Zealand, 9 a.m. in Singapore. I'd love it if you join me here live. Or if you don't have the opportunity to join me here live, watch the replay. Watch the replay. LinkedIn, Facebook, my private Facebook group, or YouTube, and leave me a message, #replay, so that I know that you've watched it. And if you've got a question, note it there. If you've got a comment, they're really welcome. I'll do my best to check all of those out. And if there are questions there, I can raise them the following week. Thank you. Thank you. It's been great to spend some time here with you today, introducing me and introducing my vision of leadership, all things leadership. See you next week. Bye now.